Hello, intermediate algebra students. Welcome to 5.2 day 2. Today is going to be kind of light. Excuse me. Today's going to be kind of light as far as the different types of stuff that we're doing. Kind of just a couple different types of problems today. Spending more time talking about parallel and perpendicular lines. So what I have here for the notes is just two problems of two different types of examples, and that's about it. So I think we saw this same type of problem yesterday. So what's going on here is you've got to come up with just the slope of a line parallel and a line perpendicular to what is given to you. Now, remember, the way that we are going to be able to do this the easiest, the way that we want to get into the habit of, and that we're working towards in this chapter, is no matter what equation your line is in, we want to be able to get it to that slope-intercept form, that y equals mx plus b. So the first thing we have to do, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday, is get that y alone. When you're getting it into slope-intercept form, that's really all that's happening, is you're getting y alone. So we practiced this a little bit in our solving equations chapter when we had equations with multiple variables and you were asked to solve for a specific one. So that's all that's happening. And remember, we follow all the same steps that we've known and practiced repeatedly with solving equations. The only difference is you just can't combine every set of, or every, oh, excuse me, I got a lot of yawns in me today, I guess. You just can't combine every term once you move it. They're going to have to stay separate at sometimes. So getting y alone, remember, just for a quick little refresher of an example, if we had something like this, like 3 plus 4y equals 12, whatever, and you're wanting to get y alone, we would subtract that 3 from both sides, right? So here, I need to get this x out of here first. That's that extra term. That's that term that's not a part of my y term that I want to get alone. So I'm going to move the x by just subtracting x. So the x is gone. Now you're looking at 4y equals 6 minus x. Again, oh, I'm sorry, negative 6 minus x. Again, you cannot combine the 6 and the x. They're not like terms. And when you subtract that x over, you can either put that x first and have negative x minus 6 or negative 6 minus x. It doesn't matter which one it is. As long as those signs are correct with the values, doesn't matter the exact order they're in. And then to get that y completely alone, we're going to divide by 4. Remember, you have to divide everything by 4, every piece individually. And then all that really matters here, okay, you've got a negative 6 over 4. We could simplify that, but we'll talk about that in a second. Minus x over 4. So all we're concerned with is that x term and the value that's in front of it, right? That mx plus b. Because when we're talking about slope, that's all that's important. So two things I kind of want to mention on this first example. First of all, this negative 6 over 4 can simplify to negative 3 over 2. When we're talking about slope, this doesn't really, we have no need for that term. So that extra value, that b value that doesn't have the x attached, is going to be ugly at times when you are, wow, is that 3 yawns for the video already? I am sorry, excuse me. So that b term, that y-intercept, is going to be a goofy, ugly term for the most part when you're doing these problems like this. It doesn't matter what it is right now. We're just concerned with the slope. So whether you want to simplify that or worry about it or not, whatever. But this piece now, you're going to have to simplify that value with whatever's in front of x. Now, this exact scenario where you just have an x, we get a lot of confusion at this point because people look at this as x over 4. They're not sure what that slope is going to be. Remember, when it's an x all by itself, it's technically a 1 or a -1 in this case. So then when you have dividing by 4, you have -1 over 4. So if you want to separate that fraction, pull it out front of the x, that's the x value, or the value in front of the x in this case. So your slope for this problem is -1 over 4. Okay? So we found our m to equal -1 over 4. Now we just have to answer these two questions. That's where all the work is involved. Now, what's the slope of a line parallel to this? Remember, parallel slopes, exactly the same. And then slope of a perpendicular line, going to be the opposite reciprocal. So it changes from negative to positive, and it flips as a fraction, which is 4 over 1. And you can just simplify that, write it as a whole number. So those are your two answers to this question. The work here is getting it into the slope-intercept form. After that, just paying attention to the m value. So here's another one. We'll kind of be able to go through this one a little bit quicker. So remember, you're asked a question that has anything to do with slope. Let's get it into that slope-intercept form. So let's go ahead and get our y alone. So we want to get our y alone. So the first thing we're going to do, cancel out that x. And then let's just do it this way just to change it up this time. X plus 6. Remember, you could have it as 6 plus x. It doesn't matter. Just know that you can't combine those. So you add the x to get rid of it since it's a negative to begin with. Now we go ahead and divide everything by -9. So that's gone. So your y is now alone. So remember, your y is alone. That x technically had a 1 in front of it, right? When it's an x all by itself, that is a 1x. So when you divide by -9, you have -1 over 9. That's the term out front of x. And then that -6 over 9 can simplify to -2/3. Doesn't play a big role in this problem right now, but that would be simplified version of your b value. -1 over 9. Since the 1 was positive, we divided by -9. We can't simplify it any further. That is your slope. So the slope of a, now pay attention, they might mix up the order of these sometimes. Let's do parallel first. Parallel slopes are always the exact same. So the slope of a parallel line is exactly the same, -1 over 9. Perpendicular, it changes from negative to positive. It flips to 9 over 1, which you can write as the whole number 9. Okay, so you're going to have a handful of those problems today. And then we've got these ones. They look intimidating. They look like there's a lot going on. We got to come up with a whole new equation. Oh my goodness. Well, here's the deal. At no point in these questions are you asked to put this in a specific type of equation. So remember what we kind of talked about here. If you are given the slope of something, let's just say m equals 3, and you're given the y-intercept of a line. If you're given those two pieces of information, you're going to put your equation into slope-intercept form, because you're given the slope and the intercept. If you're given the slope and a point, you're going to put your equation into point slope form, because that's the information you're given. And they're named that way because that's exactly what is making up that equation. So when you have this question asking you to find an equation of a line that is parallel to this one up here, and passes through a specific point. Right now, we are being given a point, and we can easily find the slope of a parallel and perpendicular line from something that is already showing us what the slope is. So when you've got this y equals negative 7 over 5x plus 3, this is basically just a little bit sneaky way of them trying to tell you that your slope right now is equal to negative 7 over 5. That slope is the value sitting in front of the x, right, in slope-intercept form. So really, all they're kind of doing is just a little bit of masking the fact that they're not flat out telling you here's the slope. They're just saying here's your slope-intercept form, get your slope from that equation, and then use that slope to come up with parallel and perpendicular lines. That's it. And the fact that they're then giving you points means that this is going to be a very simple process. So let's kind of just rewrite this down here with what we're actually being given and what we're being asked to do. So a point of 5 over 6 and a slope of negative 7 over 5. So when your m, your slope, is negative 7 over 5, your point is 5, 6. We are being given a point and a slope, so let's put this information into point-slope form. That's all you have to do. You don't have to do anything with it. So, here we go. Your slope goes in for the m spot exactly how it already looks. Your y1 value, remember it's going to end up with the opposite sign. I suppose I should probably do this in colors so it's not so confusing. That going to go right there, and then your x1 going to go right here. Remember those x1, y1 will end up with opposite signs. Here's what you'll end up looking at. Y, and then it's a positive 6 to start with for your y1 value, so it's going to be y minus 6 equals your slope of negative 7 over 5 times x minus 5, because it's a positive 5 in the point. So that is your parallel line. Parallel to that slope and going through that point. And then the second one is asking you for a perpendicular line. Well, it's going through the same point. So all we have to change is the slope. So we're still using that 5, 6 ordered pair. They didn't give you a different point for it. So it's still y minus 6. It's still x minus 5 in the parentheses. But perpendicular slopes, negative 7 over 5, it flips and turns positive. So it's going to be a positive 5 over 7. We just don't write that plus symbol unless we're actually adding it. And that is all you're doing for these couple questions. Okay? So one more quick example of that. I've got like a minute and 40 seconds here, so let's go through this one a little more smoothly. Again, they're giving you slope-intercept form of that initial equation just so you can see the slope. So we know that our slope is negative 2 over 3, and then the point that they're giving you is negative 8, 4 for both of them. So we need to come up with a parallel line, parallel linear equation, and a perpendicular linear equation. Now remember, we're looking at y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Again, we might be asking, well, how do you know to put it in that form? Where does it say that? It doesn't tell us to do that. It's just the fact that you're being given a point and the slope, so let's put it into the point slope form. That means we have no work to worry about doing. We're just plugging things in. Okay, so the parallel line will have that exact same slope. So y minus my y1 of 4 is equal to negative 2/3, because parallel is the exact same slope, times x, and then minus negative 8. Remember, opposite sign will be plus 8. And perpendicular, y again minus 4 is equal to negative turns a positive, 2 over 3 to 3 over 2, and x plus 8 again. Okay, hopefully you guys have a chance to get some of those past assignments done if you need to today and work on this new one. Have a great day. Keep working hard.